Good morning and welcome. My name is Sarah, and I work for FreeAgent in the product team that's tasked with helping our customers nail their daily admins. That means that we cover everything from kind of your receipt management to kind of expenses and bills to what we're going to be talking about today, which is invoicing. We're joined by Katie from our amazing support team. So if you have any questions, just pop them her way and she'll be able to help you. A little bit about me. I've been living in the UK for about 20 years, and during a large part of that time, I ran my own limited company and I used FreeAgent for my bookkeeping. So my needs were fairly simple at the time. So I thought I'd start by covering some of the basics of invoicing. But now that I live and breathe all things FreeAgent, I can also share some of the power moves that you might want to use to take your invoicing to the next level. And then I will stop with the Americanisms, I promise. So as a little teaser, we'll cover everything from setting up custom themes to different payment methods that you can offer your customers, invoices that send themselves, and a couple of shortcuts that's going to make creating and sending your invoices even faster. Okay, so let's jump in with custom themes. Now, when I sent my first invoices, when I first started working, like I had a really old-fashioned accountant and we did everything on spreadsheets, and I had to create my invoices on like Microsoft Word. And I think I maybe spent more time getting that template set up just right than I did on the work I was invoicing for. And I was really pleased when we moved over to FreeAgent and like everything is just kind of taken care of for you. It was great. And setting up invoices is a breeze, and you could brand it with colors and your logo, and everything looked really professional. And it was like, just took a matter of seconds. When I was working, it was as a digital project manager. But the same thing is going to apply, if you have a art gallery or you're a plumber or a dog groomer. And because this is how dirty my dog got on the weekend, I thought for the purposes of the webinar, my company that I'm going to be using is a dog grooming company called Pet Perfect. But also as a cheap trick, and because I don't want to alienate any of the cat people out there, I've also included this very sweet photo of my colleague's cat. Okay, let's jump in. So I'm going to pop over to this new window over here. You can see I've got my company, Pet Perfect, all set up, ready to go. We are going to be spending a lot of time in the settings area today. I know it doesn't sound like the most exciting area, but there's actually so much really useful stuff in here that's going to help you get set up and to automate things in FreeAgent. We're going to start in the theme settings area. So we have already set up all these kind of off-the-rack themes that you can pick and choose from, and you can customize them by adding your own logo. But I want to add my own logo and my colors and just like play around with it a little bit. So I'm going to do create custom theme. And you can see I've already added a logo in here. If you haven't, you can upload it directly in there. But I would like my logo to be a little bit larger, so I can do that. And I can play with kind of the look and feel of it as well. But the main thing that's going to change the look and feel, I think, is the color. So I can pick an accent color here, and you can kind of like freewheel it and just say like, yeah, I want something that's kind of blue. Or I think this is such a handy tool here. There's this little eyedropper, and I can hover over my logo and select a color that way. And like, gosh, it updates automatically, and it's going to be on my brand and everything. So that's really cool. What else might I want to change? I'm only invoiced for like one or two things at a time, so I'm going to use the kind of slightly more spacious layout. And we've got fonts and stuff, so you can play around as much as you like. And when you have it the way you want, click save and finish. And the important thing to not forget to do is then you need to set it as your default. So now that custom theme we've just created, it's going to be used every time I create a new invoice or estimate. It's going to do it using that template. Cool. So let's go ahead and do that then. Going into the work section, you'll see we've got invoicing here, and you can see all the invoices that I've already created are there. You can see the different statuses, and we've got this filter, which is really handy when you start having loads of them in there. It means that you can pull out just everything, for instance, that's overdue if you want to check on it, everything that's still a draft and waiting to be actioned. But I'm going to go up to new invoice. So it will pull through all the different contacts you've got, so you can choose who you want to send the invoice to that way, or you can create a new contact on the fly using this button here. And this is just taking like the minimal amount of information that you need for a contact. You need to add either the first and last name or the organization name, the company name. And if you want to send it via FreeAgent, the email address. If you were to create a contact in the contact section, there's a lot more that you can add in there as well. The other thing to point out is the sequencing. So you can change that in there. So FreeAgent will either sequence your invoices, all of them together. So no matter who you who you're sending it to, it'll just go 1, 2, 3. Or you can say, I want it to be specific to each individual contact. So you could say, when I invoice Barry, it's going to be B001, B002, and so forth. And when I invoice Tom, I want it to be Tom001, Tom002, and so forth. But for me, I would like to keep it simple and just use global sequencing for everything. So that's all that is talking about there. Oh, it would help if I actually entered that, but I don't need to because I'm going to invoice Ava Poppington instead. I'm not going to talk about projects a lot in this webinar, but just to say they can be really useful tools as well. If you do any time tracking, or if you have expenses or bills that you want to rebill back to the client, you can set up a project. And when you add those things into FreeAgent, you add them to the project, and then you can pull them into your invoices that way. So that's really handy. Jumping down to the payments section, this is going to look a little bit different if you don't have any payments set up. So let me jump back to my slides and I can show you what I mean. So if you don't have any payments methods set up, we'll pull in your bank account details and put those on the invoice automatically. But connecting to a payment provider has a lot of benefits. Particularly, it's a great way to help your customers pay quickly and securely. If you use a payment method like Stripe or PayPal, it means that when they get the invoice, they'll have a button to our payment portal that they can go to where they can see the details of the invoice and kind of just click through and pay like that. And if you think about like receiving an invoice on the go, it's a lot simpler to just kind of click through by PayPal and pay that way than it would be to say, have to download a PDF and kind of hold the information about the amount for the invoice and the bank account and the sort code and kind of juggle that with your banking app as well. And it's just more likely than not that people will put it down and deal with it at another time. So this is just a really simple way so that they can do it all in one go. And it also means that they can take advantage of the things that their credit cards are offering them, if it's points or credit, or PayPal has like a pay in 3 thing that helps people spread the costs. So it's just really giving your customers more options, which is always a good thing. We have 2 different kinds of payment providers that we offer. So I've been talking about Stripe and PayPal, and there's also Till if you're with NatWest. And these are online payments, which means that users can pay with credit cards, debit cards, or their digital wallets. But we also have Go Cardless, which is used for direct debit, and that is super powerful if you've got kind of a customer that you bill often and you've got kind of a good relationship with them. Then you can ask them to set up a mandate, and you can take one-off payments, you can take monthly payments, and that can be for variable amounts as well. So that can be really, really handy. And yeah, it's really simple. As I said, on that new invoice form, if you're not connected, there'll be those 2 different buttons, and you basically click through. You can find out a little bit more about what the different benefits of those different providers are. And then you click through to, let's say in this example I've shown, you click through to connect with Stripe, you get taken to Stripe's website, and you'll either enter your email to log in and just connect if you already have an account and kind of connect directly, or if you don't have an account, then you'll go through their process to set up a new account. Basically, once you've gone through their process, you get pushed out the other side and brought back to FreeAgent, where you're all set up and connected to that payment provider at that point. And once you've done that, then it's going to look like this, where basically on each invoice, you can decide which payment methods you want to offer. And again, the bank account is on there by default, but you can add these payment methods as well. And I think Stripe, we always turn on by default, but you can also set your default payment options as well. So let's say I want to use PayPal instead. And this means that the next time I create an invoice, it's going to be showing PayPal is pre-selected, but you can always change things up as you go through each invoice. Going down, we've got this email section, but I'm gonna come back to that in a little bit because I want to take you in to show you the new invoice. And hey, here we go. You can see it's using our new custom theme that we've set up, so that's great. It's pulling through my contact and their address because I had that already in the contacts. It's got my company name and company address. It's got the payment methods that we've selected as well. So really all I need to do is add the thing that I want to invoice for. So I'm going to jump in here and do that. And I'm going to add a service. So what am I going to do as a my pet grooming business? I'm going to have let's say there's a dog that came in who had a lot of matting, so they needed to have a custom groom. I had to spend quite a bit of time on it. So I'll do that, and that's added, and I've done create and add another because I also was going to have a call out fee because this happened actually outside of normal hours. Look, I've already done it there, call out surcharge. And that I charge 15 pounds for. And create and finish. And because I've got more than one thing, so if I wanted to, I could reorder those, but actually I think I'm happy with everything. So it is ready to be sent. There's a couple of different ways that you can send an invoice. So you can either save it as a PDF and then you can send it in your own emails. And if you do that, it's just important that you can see across here, we've got the status bars and it's currently at draft. You're going to want to mark it as sent if you do that. But you can also send it directly through FreeAgent. So I'm going to do that, send by email. And I'll copy in a message here so you don't have to see me doing typos. There we go. And I want to, again, make it as easy for my customers to pay as possible. So I've said that I'm going to take PayPal. I want to include an online payment button in the email as well. So there'll be something on the invoice, but you can see an example of how this looks. We basically just add a view and pay button, big green button at the bottom of the email as well. So I've ticked that box and I'll hit send email. Great, and you can see it's automatically updated the status for us. It's gone from draft to now the status is sent. And down here, we can see the email history as well. So that's really handy. Oh, one thing that I'll show you as well is I talked about how I've included that button, and there's also the link on the invoice to that will take the customer to the payment portal. So just so you can see what that looks like here, it's basically just a copy of your invoice, has all the details there, but it also has this very important button to pay with PayPal, and it'll be whatever provider you'd selected is there. So you can see it's really handy. It means that they don't have to download the PDF if they don't want to. They can just go through a couple of clicks and get that payment journey done. All right, let me close that up and we'll go back to the slides. So that's the basics and the most straightforward way to send an invoice, but there's a lot of kind of automations and tricks that we can do to speed up the process. You'll notice that when I created that last invoice, I had to add the thing that I was invoicing for on the fly. But if you invoice for the same thing again and again, you can set up a price list and then you can bring these things into your invoice automatically. So let's go back to my account. If we go back into the settings area, you'll see that there's this price list and stock section. So I've already added a bunch of things in here, but you can add all sorts of stuff. It can be services. I've got services. I've got a few products, and you can also add time. So if you have a standard hourly rate or a day rate, you can add in those here as well. You just click add new price list, and then this looks almost exactly like it did when we were doing it on the fly in those invoices. The main difference is that you have a name code as well as a description. And the difference is the name is kind of what's going to be there for you to select in the dropdown. The description is what it will look like on the invoice itself. So in my example, I've just got groom large is what I would pick from the dropdown, but I want it to be a little bit more professional and enticing on the invoice itself. So on the invoice itself, it comes through as signature groom, large breed. So that's really easy. And it's good to note as well that you can do this on the fly as you're creating an invoice as well. Let me quickly show you how to do that. So I'm going to rush through the setting up of a new invoice because we've done that before. I'm going to be invoicing Ava again, create new invoice. When I go to add the item, let's say it is I want to have a service where I've done kind of a half day of pet sitting, which is going to cost £30, and I can add this to the price list by ticking that button. So that's going to have the same name, and I will do create and finish. And now if I add another item, you can see it's in there waiting to be added again. I don't actually want to add anything to that. Okay, and if I'm happy with this, send by email. I'll enter another message. Hi, Ava. And send. Oh, and I didn't click the online payment button here, so I'm going to actually edit and add that back in and send. It's a really nice thing. FreeAgent, if you've kind of not filled in part of the form correctly, you'll get warning messages, and we'll also just offer tips. You know, because I had said that I wanted to take PayPal, but then I hadn't given them the option in the email. It gives me that as a little reminder. Cool. So how can we make that kind of sending bit even easier? And that's going to be with invoices that send themselves. So we've talked about basic invoice and a price list, but this is an automation that can save you a lot of time. So going back into a new invoice, I'll show you what I'm talking about. We've got this email section, and we skipped it before because I wanted to spend a bit more time on it. It's super powerful. It's going to save you time. It's going to help your customers to pay on time, and it'll make it so you can even send a thank you note automatically when you've received payments. So if you have templates set up, this section looks a little bit different, but I haven't done that yet for my for Pet Perfect. So I will show you what that looks like. Since I don't have them set up, there is a link directly here. But if you do have them set up and you ever want to go in and edit them, you guessed it, they live in settings. So go to settings and email templates. Now, I haven't set this up before, so it's kind of has this blue notice telling me what's happening, essentially. And it's saying that we've got the starter text, and this is great. So you're not kind of starting with a blank slate. We've got some text in there, and actually you can use this directly as it is, or you can customize it if you want. So one thing when you're thinking about customizing it is that you want to make sure that what you're writing is going to work for all of your invoices. And the email tags mean that you can be kind of clever about this. So out of the box, it says hi, and then anything that's in these brackets here, you can add in to the email, and then it will search into the database and pull out whatever the relevant information is. So the subject is invoice with a reference number, and it'll pull the reference number from the invoice that you're sending and putting it in there. And then in the email message itself, it says hi, and then brackets contact first name, which means it'll pull in Ava's name rather than say contact first name. So let's say I want to customize this even further with one of these. I'm just going to say what the due date is. So I'm copying that over there, and I'll say due this date, full stop. And I will save that template. The new estimate one works almost exactly the same. It's just the one that gets sent when you send an estimate. So I will save that. I'm happy with that, what it says out of box. The thank yous are a really nice feature. So when you mark something as paid, then the thank you will go out automatically. So I will save that. And then the reminders is this really kind of cool tool. So let me do one of those. What's neat about the reminders is it's the same kind of thing where you've got a automated message that you send out, but you also have different rules that you can set up for when you send them. So I actually want to send out a reminder that's going to go out the day before an invoice is due. And it's like, this is just this is a friendly reminder to let you know our invoice is due tomorrow, I'm going to say. And I'll always include that payment button if I can. And I will create the invoice reminder. But I also want to send one if it's overdue. And what's great about the reminders is you can set up multiple rules. So I will add another one as well. And this one I'm going to send a week after the invoice due date. And I'm going to use that message that they have in there already. And now if we go into our invoicing, let's this time create something that is going to be scheduled to send on the 1st of the month. And I'll keep everything else as it was, keep PayPal in there. And you can see that this section now looks a little bit different. We've got these different options to use our automatic emails. So let me tick these. Thank you on. The reminder is going to be set on. And I also want to send the invoice automatically. And actually, now that I've set up that template, I have the option to use that global template, or if there was something particular about this invoice or this client that I wanted to call out, I could actually send a bespoke custom one that was going to be just attached to this invoice. But I'm happy with the global one. I thought we did a good job there. So I will set that up. Create new invoice. And you can see the screen looks ever so slightly different. Let me add in an item from our price list. And you can see rather than having the option to send now, it's actually now saying schedule to send. And you can see it's been configured to send on the 1st of July. And we've got these reminders set up and thank yous are enabled. So you can, if you change your mind about any of those, you could always change that there. But basically, once you're ready to roll with it, and it's, you're like, this is finalized, you just click schedule to send. I'm going to send with a button. And it's now been marked as sent. Sorry, no, apologize. It's been marked as scheduled. So if you were to go into your invoicing overview page, you can see that it's scheduled to send and it's saying who it's going to send to and when. All right. So that is like how you can get FreeAgent to send a single email off for you automatically and do some of that like work of chasing up payments if you haven't been paid. But if you've got clients on retainer or any kind of subscription-based services, then a recurring invoice is very similar, but it's kind of sets a pattern so that you set up one invoice and then FreeAgent uses that as like a template to create invoices on a regular basis for you. And you can set it up to just create them so that you can then tweak them and send them individually, or you can set it up so that it creates them and will send them automatically. And if you've got direct debit, it's like a very lovely pairing because you don't even have to worry about the payment then. Direct debit mandate is set up, then for both you and the client, all the kind of admin that comes with this, that relationship is taken care of, and the invoices will get created, payment will get taken, and they'll get a receipt. So let me show you what that looks like. Because we've gone through invoices in detail, this is very similar. You should notice that once you get kind of the hang of the patterns of things, we try and kind of lean into that so that new features are easy to pick up. So the recurring invoice profile screen is very similar to the invoices one, and you can create a new profile here. The only main difference here, I think, is that we've got this frequency tag set in. So you can say, I want to send an invoice every week, every 4 weeks, every month, etc. For my dog grooming business, I want to encourage people to come in often. It's really helpful for me to have that kind of be able to project sort of what my cash flow is, what my customers are going to be coming in. So having regular customers is really beneficial to me. So I'm actually going to offer people a discount if they do that. So I'm going to say, if you come in and every 2 months, I'll offer a 10% discount for that subscription service. So I'm also going to use this additional text, which we haven't talked about before, but I will add in a little note that will be specific to invoices created from this profile, saying it's a subscription service. So please give at least 2 weeks notice if you require any changes. And I want to use these automatic emails that we've talked about. And I talked about having a discount, so I'm going to add that 10% discount in here. And then we'll create a new profile. And again, this looks very similar to the invoices that you've created already. Let me add in the item. So this is for my signature groom for a medium breed, create and finish, and you'll see that 10% discount is already added in, all taken care of for me. So the difference between a profile and an invoice is that with a invoice, you'd now either send it or schedule it to send. With a recurring invoice profile, you need to, when you're happy with how everything looks, you need to activate it. So we will click that and you'll see, great, this is no longer draft. The next invoice dates are in 2 months, 18 or 4 months, and so on. The automatic emails are turned on, it's telling us, and if we go down to the bottom, you'll see that the invoice has been created and sent. And we should see that here as well. Sorry, it's not the very top one because the top one was one that we scheduled in advance, so, but it's this one down here. Okay, so I realize that we've covered lots of information and I've been whizzing through it really quickly. But I think, I hope that you're beginning to see that there's lots of different ways of approaching invoices and different ways of getting paid. So I would encourage everyone to have like a nose around, see what's going to work for you. But I will quickly just run through some of the shortcuts to getting to these screens as well. So I've been going through the kind of work invoicing route, but there's also on the overview page of like the home screen of FreeAgent, there's this add new button and lots of shortcuts there. The top one is going to be add new invoice. There's a similar thing if you're someone who spends a lot of time kind of managing your work on a contact level, you can go in and add new invoice on the contacts as well. Likewise, if you have a contact that you've invoiced before and you are going to invoice them for the same thing or something similar, you can go into that invoice and duplicate the invoice, and it just makes a good jumping off point if all you have to do is tweak a few things. Convert an estimate. So this one's really handy if you send out estimates or quotes before you do the work. Then that's very similar process to the invoice one that we've been spending some time talking about today. But at the top, you'll see that the status flow is a little bit different. So you make a draft, then you mark it as sent, you wait for it to be approved, and then once it's been approved, you can convert it to an invoice as well. And again, the invoice doesn't have to exactly match the estimate. If there's new things come up during the kind of process of doing the work that you want to add, you can add them in as well. But it just means it's like a good jumping off point, and then you'd be able to see the full journey of kind of what happened from that estimate to requesting payment to getting paid. And then last but definitely not least is the mobile app. So this is really handy for requesting payment on the go. One thing that not many people know about, but there's something called a long press. So if you're on not even inside the FreeAgent app yet, you can do a long press of the icon. So you kind of hold it down for about 4 seconds, and then you get these quick links there. And so you've got create an invoice is one of those. Similarly, once you're inside the app on the home screen, there's an add new button, this little green button down here that throws up some of the shortcuts you might want to do, and invoice is one of those. And then of course, it's always in the main menu as well under invoices. And whoosh, okay, that is a lot that we've covered. We've talked about creating a new invoice, different themes that you can apply to your invoice, different payment methods and providers that you can offer your clients like Stripe and PayPal. different ways to pull information into your invoices using price lists, different automations for sending invoices using email templates or recurring invoices, and some of the shortcuts to sending those as well. So yeah, I hope that's been helpful. I think you should see a little question popping up right now about how helpful it's been there. It's just come through and blocked my screen. But yes, I definitely encourage you guys to all have a play around and find out what works best for you and your team and your workflows. Yeah, thanks for joining me.